in its both well, its true embrace of the mythology around flawlessness, right? So we have this, especially with idealized characters, idealized characters, let's say. And this movie actually takes that mythology on head on and makes us understand and realize that all human beings are flawed, right? And actually the narrative, the action in this film is put into motion by the flawed actions of some men. And you'll have to excuse me, I actually wrote these questions when I just know how to have these two amazing women on stage. You joined late. So a lot of these questions will be women focused. But, so a bunch of flawed men mess some stuff up. But you know, again, in the mythology of heroes, sometimes the inclination is to think, oh no, these are flawless characters, these are perfect people. This film is not about perfect people. This is about people with real conflicts who are then become heroic. And I'm wondering if you talked at all about acknowledging that. And there is risk also in that. I mean, you create this phenomenal kind of new narrative, and yet it's infused with real human beings in a certain sense, in terms of their human flaws. And you want to take that on?
This was the hard question. Whew, yeah, sounds like a dissertation to answer that one. But I think the origins of the Black Panther come, unlike the other heroes of the Marvel Universe. The Black Panther is the one he's the only one who is the leader of a nation. So even just in that, the other ones are, they're more self-made men, they're more independent, they go by their own code, and they don't have a whole nation to answer to necessarily, He does. And I think that in the first place grounds us in the real world with real people and real issues. And then Ryan Coogler chose to use the Black Panther as a vehicle to discuss, to explore some really pressing matters about the world we live in. The question about what do borders mean? Who am I my brother's keeper? Those questions are at the heart of this. And so the narrative is an exploration about trying to answer those questions. Wakanda is at a pivotal moment in its existence where it has to decide whether it's going to preserve itself or participate in the larger world. And T'Challa goes in that journey, and the film starts, and in the very beginning, you hear the argument from Nakia, like, we should open our borders, that, Wakanda is strong enough to protect itself and also help as well. And it takes his personal journey through the film to get to a place for him to understand that, to truly, deeply be convicted to take on that role through meeting a cousin of his in Killmonger, So it's a family. It's a story about family, but it's a story about nations, and it's a very personal, intimate story, and it stems from questions that Ryan himself was asking about his own identity as an African, and an African American, and that relationship as well. So all these issues make it such that there is no other way than for it to be about flawed people, because at the end of the day, that's the only reality, and that in flawed people exist extraordinary abilities. And I think that's what the mythology of superhero is about, reminding ourselves of that.
I don't think we've ever. I don't think anybody's ever asked a question that would give us the opportunity to address that, actually. And just a little bit of insight on Nakia, that I don't think you necessarily get this when you watch the movie, because it was part of our backstory, and it's probably in there at some point and we cut it out. But her mission as a spy, as a war dog, coincides with what my father's later vision is. His later vision is to open the borders. You know, that's why you have him going to the Sokovia Accords. That's his later vision. But what I grew up knowing him as a closed person, as a traditionalist. So you're seeing him, the entire movie is actually you watching him wrestle with his flaws, or me wrestling with his flaws, with his changes. And, you know, she's privy to information about what his vision was, because she went on this mission at the beginning, that he sent her on at the beginning of the movie. I'm rescuing her out of a mission he sent her on. And so when she's giving me this advice, she knows more about what he wants at this point in a certain way than I do. And that's not explicit when you watch the movie, but that's our backstory.